All right, let's talk about happiness, but maybe not in the way you're used to. Today, we're not just looking at it as a fleeting feeling, but as a real, practical strategy. We're going to dive into a two-front approach for finding a kind of contentment that actually lasts, especially when the world is constantly moving the goalposts on us.
It's the big question, isn't it? We've all been there. You hit your goals, you get the thing you thought you wanted, but that deep, satisfying feeling of contentment, it just feels slippery, like a moving target you can never quite hit. So what's really going on under the hood? Let's dig in.
So the first thing we really need to wrap our heads around is that our brains come with this built-in feature. Let's call it the unhappiness engine. Now, that sounds pretty negative, I know, but it's a core part of how we're programmed. And once you understand how it works, you can actually start to work with it instead of constantly fighting against it.
So here's how this engine works. You finally get that promotion you've been working for, you buy the car you've been dreaming about, and you feel great for a little while. And then that new reality just becomes the new normal. And almost immediately, your expectations shift to the next, bigger, better thing. It's a cycle.
This whole process is driven by what's known as our psychological baseline. Think of it as the setting for what feels normal to you. But here's the catch. It's not a fixed point. As your life gets better, that baseline for normal just moves right up along with it. It's the mechanism that makes sure we never get too comfortable for too long.
So here's the key takeaway from all this. This isn't a bug in our system. It's a feature. It's literally by design. Our DNA is wired to keep us striving, to keep us improving, because from a survival standpoint, permanent contentment could lead to stagnation. This internal dissatisfaction is actually a tool for progress. The trick is learning how to manage it so it doesn't end up managing you.
Okay, so if we can't just turn this engine off, what are we supposed to do? Well, the solution is like a two-front battle, and the first front is all internal. It's about changing our mindset without having to change anything about our external circumstances.
And when it comes to our mindset, we really have two paths we can go down. On one side, you've got the envy trap. This is a game you absolutely cannot win, because there will always be someone who has more than you. On the other side, you have the contentment path. This is all about shifting your focus to what you have right now and learning to appreciate your own journey.
I mean, just think about this for a second. If one of the wealthiest people in Asia can still find someone to be jealous of, what chance do the rest of us have playing that game? It's the perfect illustration that envy is just a bottomless pit. It truly has no ceiling.
So how do we actually put this into practice? Well, it all starts with these really intentional shifts in where you put your focus. Instead of always looking up at what other people have, look around you. Find genuine joy in the well-being of your family and friends. See the hope and potential in the younger generation. It's about consciously reminding yourself that no matter what your situation is, you have things right now that other people are desperately wishing for. This isn't about killing your ambition. It's about grounding it in some real gratitude. All right, let's move on to the second front in our battle for happiness. This one is all about how we deal with the outside world, our interactions with other people. And a massive source of unnecessary unhappiness comes from this one little habit, our tendency to escalate everything.
We've all seen this happen, right? Heck, we've probably all done it. Someone makes a relatively small mistake, and instead of just dealing with it as a small mistake, we blow it up. We make it a matter of principle. And in doing so, we turn a simple slip-up into what feels like a sign of a deep moral character flaw.
And here's just how quickly this can get completely absurd. Step 1, your friend is 5 minutes late. A little annoying? Sure, maybe. But then you declare it's a matter of principle. Suddenly you're arguing about how punctuality is the glue that holds society together. And before you know it, you've concluded your friend is just morally bankrupt. It's a ridiculous leap, but it's a trap we fall into.
And here's the stark warning that comes with that kind of thinking. If you apply this sort of moral absolutism to every single person for every little thing, you're going to burn every bridge you have. You'll eventually end up totally alone, because guess what? Nobody's perfect.
So what's the alternative? Instead of escalating, we need to learn to de-escalate. We need a much more nuanced, a much more practical framework for how we judge the actions of other people. Here's a really simple but powerful framework you can use. Before you jump to judgment, just ask yourself 3 questions. First, what was the actual harm done here? Second, was it intentional? And third, is this a one-time thing or is this part of a bigger pattern? Asking these questions shifts your focus away from some abstract principle and onto the concrete reality of the situation.
And this framework helps us see the massive difference between things.
I mean, a carefully planned financial scam that hurts thousands of people? Yeah, that deserves harsh judgment. But a friend losing their temper once and saying something stupid? That's a human slip-up that probably deserves some grace. They are not the same thing because context is everything.
You know, being overly judgmental like this isn't just bad for your own happiness, it's also just a bad strategy in life. When you demand moral perfection from everyone, you just shrink your own world. You isolate yourself, and you might even be pushing away people who could have been your friends or allies.
So let's bring this all together. The path to a wiser, happier life really is fought on two fronts. Inwardly, you fight that battle against envy by actively cultivating contentment. And outwardly, you fight unnecessary conflict by judging people with context and grace, not with rigid, absolute principles. It's really about seeing the world and all the messy, imperfect people in it as they actually are, not as some purity test you've designed.
And that really brings us back to the real world, right? This isn't just some intellectual exercise. So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Who in your life have you maybe written off based on a single mistake or a single principle? And do they maybe deserve a second look through this new lens of context and grace? Just something to think about.